Before we begin, I need you to hear this. Nearly 44% of people living with dangerously high blood pressure have absolutely no idea anything is wrong. No headaches, no warning signs, no pain. Some of them are young, in their 20s, going to the gym, going to work, feeling perfectly fine, until a blood vessel in their brain bursts, or a clot shuts down blood flow in the span of seconds. Now, imagine this happening inside you without your knowledge. Imagine walking around with a ticking time bomb inside your chest, but the timer has no display. You feel fine. You look fine. You might even go for a run or handle a stressful meeting without a second thought. But inside, your arteries are silently screaming under immense pressure. This isn't a metaphor. For nearly half of adults watching this right now, this is a biological reality. Hypertension, high blood pressure, is called the silent killer because it often has zero symptoms until the moment it causes a stroke, a heart attack, or kidney failure. Let me give you one example that still haunts neurologists. Connor was 22, athletic, serving in the National Guard. No symptoms, no warning signs. One morning, he collapsed in his dorm. A clot had silently formed in a hypertensive artery and blocked blood flow to his brain. He survived only after emergency surgery that removed part of his skull to relieve the swelling. Connor's story is the brutal proof of what silent hypertension can do, even in the young, the healthy, the strong. And Thomas, without realizing it, was walking the same path. But what if I told you that the common advice to simply eat less salt and exercise more is only scratching the surface? Today, we are going to go deeper into the very machinery that controls pressure inside your arteries, and I will show you exactly how to unlock it naturally. To understand how this works, I want you to meet Thomas. Thomas was 54, a logistics manager who prided himself on his stamina. 4 cups of coffee a day, steak dinners, always rushing. He dismissed the throbbing in his temples as just part of the job. Then, during a routine checkup, he heard the numbers that froze him in place. 160 over 100. His doctor looked him in the eye and said, "You're walking the edge of a cliff." Thomas was terrified. He did not want to depend on medication forever. He wanted to understand why his body was betraying him. And to do that, we need to go beyond the blood pressure cuff and look inside the artery itself. Think of your cardiovascular system as a giant plumbing network. Your heart is the pump. Your arteries are the hoses. Cardiovascular system. In a healthy body, those hoses are flexible. They expand and relax as blood flows through. But imagine squeezing that hose in the middle. Pressure surges behind the pinch. The pump strains. The flow becomes turbulent and violent. When your arteries are chronically tight, 2 terrible things happen. First, the heart muscle thickens from the workload. Second, the delicate lining of those arteries begins to tear. So here's the million-dollar question. What is pinching the hose? It's not a thumb, it's chemistry, and that chemistry lives in the endothelium. Deep inside your arteries, there's a single layer of cells called the endothelium. For decades, we thought it was just wallpaper. We were wrong. It's one of the most powerful organs in the entire body. Endothelium layer in artery. When the endothelium is healthy, it releases a miraculous gas called nitric oxide, the signal that tells your arteries to relax and widen. But Thomas's endothelium was injured. It had stopped producing nitric oxide. His arteries remained locked in a permanent state of tightness. And there's a part almost no one explains. When your body is exposed to years of sugar spikes, stress hormones, inflammation, or even poor sleep, the very enzyme that produces nitric oxide, called ENOS, begins to malfunction. Instead of generating nitric oxide, this enzyme becomes uncoupled and starts producing a toxic molecule, superoxide. Superoxide destroys nitric oxide on contact. The two combine to form a corrosive substance that scars the artery from the inside out. This biochemical storm is the real reason Thomas's arteries were tight, even on days he felt relaxed. His endothelium wasn't just underperforming, it was malfunctioning. But there is a way to restore this system. Nature provides one of the simplest repair tools: dietary nitrates. Arugula, spinach, beetroot. When you eat these foods, your body converts nitrates into nitric oxide. But here's the catch. The process begins in your mouth. The bacteria on your tongue convert nitrates into nitrites, the first step in producing nitric oxide. If you use antibacterial mouthwash every morning, you kill the very bacteria responsible for this reaction, meaning you may be unknowingly raising your blood pressure. But repairing the endothelium is only one piece of the puzzle. We also need to talk about the electrical system that runs every single cell in your arteries. Your cells operate using the sodium-potassium pump, a biological seesaw. Sodium pulls water in and raises pressure. Potassium relaxes nerves and vessels, helping flush excess sodium out. Our ancestors consumed enormous amounts of potassium and almost no sodium. We do the opposite. Thomas didn't just stop salting his food. He flooded his body with potassium. Avocados, sweet potatoes, leafy greens, salmon. And by restoring this ratio, his kidneys finally let go of the excess fluid they had been hoarding. But potassium alone wasn't the full story. Stress, dehydration, and years of processed sodium eating had activated a powerful survival system inside Thomas, called the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, RAAS. Renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. RAAS is designed for emergencies. It clamps down on arteries and tells the kidneys to hold sodium as if your life depends on it. But in modern life, RAAS gets activated every day. From stress, from caffeine overload, from poor sleep, from dehydration. Once RAAS flips on, your kidneys grip sodium tightly, your arteries constrict, your body retains water, and blood pressure climbs even if you're cutting salt. Thomas had no idea this ancient system was working against him. And then we arrive at the masterclass level, the cause almost no one talks about: insulin resistance. When you eat sugar or refined carbs, insulin rises. Too much insulin tells the kidneys to hold sodium. Too much insulin thickens the muscle layer of arteries. Too much insulin disables nitric oxide production. This is why Thomas's healthy morning fruit juice and afternoon bagel were silently raising his blood pressure. Once he understood this, Thomas didn't just go on a diet. He engineered a protocol to switch off RAAS, lower insulin, and flood his endothelium with raw materials. I want to walk you through exactly what a day in his life looked like during this recovery phase. This wasn't about starvation. It was about biochemical signaling. It started at 7 a.m. In the past, this was toast and orange juice, a sugar bomb that spiked insulin and hardened his arteries before he even left the house. Now, he broke his fast with savory fuels. 3 scrambled eggs, rich in choline, cooked in olive oil, with a side of half an avocado. Why avocado? Because half an avocado contains more potassium than a medium banana, without the sugar. This meal kept his insulin flat. No insulin spike means his kidneys could finally start flushing out salt and water. At 12:30 p.m., lunch was his nitrate prescription. He didn't take a pill. He ate a massive bowl of arugula and spinach salad, topped with walnuts and, crucially, roasted beets. Remember the endothelium? This meal is essentially a delivery system for nitrates. Within 2 hours of eating this, the nitrates interact with the bacteria in his mouth and stomach, eventually surging into his bloodstream as nitric oxide. He could literally feel his focus sharpen in the afternoon as blood flow to the brain improved. By 3 p.m., when the old Thomas would reach for a donut or a second coffee, the new Thomas ate a small square of 85% dark chocolate and a handful of pumpkin seeds. The chocolate provides flavonols to protect the vessel lining. The pumpkin seeds are packed with magnesium, nature's relaxant, which helps the smooth muscle of the arteries unclench. And dinner at 7 p.m. was the closer. Wild-caught salmon for omega-3s to reduce inflammation, paired with a baked sweet potato and steamed broccoli. It was filling. It was satisfying. But biochemically, it was sending a single, clear message to his body. You are safe. You can let go of the pressure. Within weeks of eating this way, his arteries softened, his kidneys released fluid, his numbers dropped. But nutrition was only the fuel. He needed a mechanic to fix the engine while it was running. He added one more change, something surprisingly simple. Not running, not lifting weights. Wall squats. This is known as isometric training, and for blood pressure, it is more effective than aerobic exercise. Let me explain how to do it, because the technique matters. You find a sturdy wall. You lean your back flat against it. You slide down until your knees are at a 90-degree angle, as if you are sitting in an invisible chair. And then, you stay there. For the first 30 seconds, it's easy. By 60 seconds, your legs begin to burn. By 90 seconds, your muscles may start to shake. But here is what is happening inside. When you hold that tension without moving, the contracting muscles in your legs are squeezing the blood vessels shut. You are briefly creating a localized high-pressure zone. You hold this for 2 minutes. Then you stand up. And this is the magic moment. As your muscles relax, the dam breaks. A massive surge of blood rushes through those previously compressed vessels. This rush creates something called shear stress against the artery walls. It sounds dangerous, but it is the exact signal your endothelium needs. It wakes up the cells. It triggers a massive release of nitric oxide to accommodate the sudden flow. Thomas did this 4 times, with a 2-minute rest in between. 4 sets, 2 minutes each, 3 times per week. It was training for his arteries, not just his muscles. And within weeks, his resting blood pressure began to fall faster than before. But even with the diet, even with the wall squats, Thomas had to confront the most powerful driver of hypertension: stress. Your nervous system lives in 2 states, fight or flight, or rest and digest. When you're stressed, adrenaline surges, cortisol rises, blood vessels constrict to push blood toward your muscles. Thomas was living in fight or flight for years, running from a tiger that never stopped chasing him. To fix this, he couldn't just relax. Sitting on the couch watching TV isn't relaxing, not biologically. He had to retrain his nervous system. He discovered a technique called resonance breathing. Scientific studies show that breathing at a rate of roughly 5.5 to 6 breaths per minute synchronizes your heart rate variability with your respiration. It maximizes the sensitivity of the baroreceptors, the pressure sensors in your neck. For Thomas, this became his evening medication. And I want you to try it with me right now, just for a moment, so you can feel the shift. Sit comfortably. Drop your shoulders away from your ears. We are going to inhale through the nose for a count of 4 and exhale through the nose or mouth for a count of 6. Making the exhale longer is the key. That is what activates the vagus nerve to slow the heart. Ready? Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Feel the air filling your lower belly, not just your chest. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Imagine your arteries relaxing with every breath out. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Thomas did this for 15 minutes every night before bed. At this rhythm, the vagus nerve sends a powerful, overriding message to the body. Slow down. You are safe. Studies show this practice alone can lower systolic pressure by nearly 10 points in 6 weeks. For Thomas, it wasn't just about the numbers. It was the first time in 20 years that the noise in his head actually stopped. 6 months after his terrifying diagnosis, Thomas returned to his doctor. He had repaired his endothelium with the nitrate protocol. He had balanced sodium with potassium. He had lowered insulin by cutting sugar and starting the day with healthy fats. He had rebuilt his vascular flexibility with isometric wall squats. He had rewired his nervous system using resonance breath. He walked into the office. The nurse wrapped the cuff around his arm. The Velcro sound seemed louder than usual. He waited. The nurse looked at the gauge. She blinked. She measured it again. She took the cuff off and smiled. 118/75. Perfect. Thomas didn't just lower a number on a chart. He healed the machinery of his body. He turned off the ticking time bomb. And you have the power to do the same. High blood pressure is not a curse. It is a signal, a whisper from deep inside your arteries, telling you the system is overloaded and wants to return to balance. It is asking for the right fuel. It is asking for the right movement. It is asking for a moment to breathe. Listen to that signal. Your heart is counting on you.